Hi boys and girls. So today what we're going to talk about is ways to use dialogue. So in the writing section of your writing notebook, I want you to title the page Ways to Use Dialogue. Pause the video so you can write it on the page. Now, my next thing I'm going to ask you to do is I want you to write down at the beginning of the sentence. Then below that, I would like you to put down, Katie said, let's go to the mall. Pause the video so you can write down the sentence. Now, we need to punctuate this correctly. So in order to do so, we need to say, Katie said. We have to imagine that basically it's two sentences within one. So I'm going to need to have you write a comma after Katie said. Now, Katie's speaking. So what she is saying is, let's go to the mall. That is also a sentence. So therefore, I need a period at the end of that sentence. So to correctly punctuate the dialogue, I need Katie said, comma, quotes, let's go to the mall, period, end quotes. Notice that my period is inside the quotes. Take a moment, pause the video, and go ahead and do yours. The next thing I want you to write down is, on the paper, write down at the end of the sentence. And then let's write down the sentence, let's go to the mall, said Katie. Pause the video and write down the sentence. Okay, now we need to punctuate. Again, we have to imagine that basically it's two sentences in one, because we have what Katie's speaking, let's go to the mall. And then we also have Katie said. So notice I have to have a period after Katie said. Now here's the trick. When the tagline, which is the Katie said, is located at the end of the sentence, we actually need to put a comma at the end of what the person is actually saying. We don't actually punctuate it. So stop the video and go ahead and put in your punctuation where it's necessary. The next thing I want you to write down is in the middle of the sentence, and write down the sentence, so you didn't finish your homework, my teacher said. You'll have to finish at recess. So stop the video and write down the sentence. Now, we have to imagine that we've interrupted what the person was saying. Since you didn't finish your homework, you'll have to finish it at recess. That's what the person was saying, but we basically plugged in, my teacher said. So we've interrupted what the person is saying. So therefore, we are going to need to put a comma after homework. My teacher said is what's being spoken. We need to put a comma at here, and then I need a period at the end of the sentence. Notice that Yule is not capitalized, the Y in Yule. That is because it is a continuation of what was being said. If we hadn't interrupted with my teacher said, it would have said, since you didn't finish your homework, you'll have to finish it at recess. Stop the video and make your correct punctuation. Now, we do have exceptions. So an exception would be if we're going to have an exclamation point or a question mark. So, for instance, may I come with you? Asked John. Notice that I plugged in my question mark. I put that in. If it was a comma, it would have been a period. If it was a period, it would have been a comma. But we can put in that question mark. Same thing as going to go with an exclamation. Help, I'm stuck, yelled Mary. Notice I put in the exclamation point. So stop the video and go ahead and write down the sentences. And finally, we have a couple of rules for grammar that we're going to look at. So our first rule is rules for using quotes. For every speaker, begin a new line. We talked about this. Even if a person says yes, it has to start a new sentence. Write that down. The next thing is commas and periods go inside quotes. Notice they're not outside. For instance, I have my quotation marks. Inside is the punctuation. Next thing, use commas to separate dialogue and a speaker. We're going to use commas when it says he said, she said, although we're not using said because said is dead. Our exceptions are when we're using a quotation, an exclamation point or a question mark. We need to capitalize the first letter of spoken dialogue, and we need to indent any new lines. So I want you to take a minute and write down these rules for using quotes. Okay, now what I need for you to do is go into your memoir and check out your quotes. Are you punctuating them correctly with correct quotation marks and correct exclamation, question marks, commas when you have it tagged with said so-and-so, or we got rid of said, hopefully. Good luck.